Replicants are like any other machine. They're either a benefit or a hazard. But if they're a benefit, it's not my problem.
Your job once. I was good at it. Things were simpler then.
Hi, everybody, and welcome once again to GeekFest Rants. My name is Carlos Perone, and joining me I have James. Say hi, James.
Hello, hello.
Well, today we're going to hit a subject that we were originally going to wait a little longer to see if there was more development and maybe more material, and we can kind of maybe group it with other things, other possible movie trailers that are coming in the near future. But because they released a pair of trailers, or teasers if you will, that are somewhat connected, not only because the director, the producer is somebody very special to us, the world or the universe where these films take place are somewhat connected. What we're talking about right now is Blade Runner 2049 and Alien Covenant. Recently, by surprise, I mean, I'm surprised that they released these teasers now and they didn't wait till like Super Bowl, Sunday, where they kind of have all those commercials and they throw you a whole bunch of trailers. But I guess maybe it was a Christmassy type of don't forget about us type of thing.
Yeah, I thought maybe New Year, new info,
Yeah, it seemed a little odd to me that they gave us this. The first one up is going to be Blade Runner 2049. Now, we've talked about Blade Runner before, what big fans we are of the movie, of the look, of the music, of the actors, the director. It's just amazing film.
One of my favorite films of all time. I mean,
I
watch
too.
it. I listen to the music regularly. I just recently, in fact, days before the trailer dropped, I found somebody, and this is nothing new, it's been there, but on YouTube, I mean, sometimes you just troll YouTube and you find shocking surprises, and I found something called the Esper version or something like that. It's basically as much music that possibly can be coalesced, including some sound effects and also some dialogue from the film. So it's basically the entire film from beginning to end, and I was stunned because it's 35 years and then I found something new. You know what I mean? So it was just something that was out there, but for me it was new and it blew me away, and I love it because it made me just feel like a kid again, or made me feel like I'm in that world again.
Well, the film, even though is back from 1982, a long time ago, they did write a couple of sequel books. I read, I think, one of them.
I read them both.
I really couldn't even tell you what they were about because I don't even remember them.
It was a guy named Jeter, and I always remember that now because you think of Derek Jeter. His name wasn't Derek, obviously, but maybe it was Michael Jeter. No, that's an actor. Anyways, but the book was kind of like you said, two sequels, and one of them was pretty good, and the other one I don't recall much about it, so it must not have been that great to me.
More recently, because I was always fascinated by it, but I never took the chance or never really bothered, was reading the book. I finally, last year, I think it was, I read, Do Androids
Dream of Electric Sheep?
Dream of Electric Sheep, and I was really blown away by the book. It's very similar and it's very different.
Yeah,
And
I loved it because I read it in college, and it was so
Yeah.
many people talking about the movie because, like, that so-called director's cut came out, like the non-official director's cut back then, and I was like, if you really want to know the director's cut, read the book because then you'll see where stuff really came from. And like you said,
I know.
some was different and some was side world of where they talk more about the off-world stuff and his
Yeah.
ex-wife and the whole animal stuff. So
Yep,
that was a
yep.
nice thing, and they implemented a lot of that didn't quite make sense either with or without the voiceover. But when you read the book, it's so much more rich, that environment, because, it's all right there. Just read the book and you'll understand that whole off-world and that whole animal thing.
And the animal thing, and also the whole how mankind is really dying out, and people are sick, and people who can afford, they leave, and those who can't afford have to stay.
The Earth is the old world, and everybody's going to the new world, which is elsewhere.
And I really want to read it again. I'm glad I bought it because I have a feeling before I see this film, I'm going to probably take another crack at the book. But in this film, like I said, we knew for a while it was coming, and it's kind of like a mixed reaction because you don't want them messing with something so iconic. But this teaser they gave us is very short. We've already known who the people involved. Obviously, Harrison Ford has returned to the film, but the lead here is Ryan Gosling, which, one of Hollywood's, hot new, actors nowadays.
He appears to be a superstar. I just don't personally care for. I don't think he brings enough. I think he's a superstar, but I don't think he opens a movie like a Harrison Ford or anybody. It's just my opinion, I don't think anybody's going to see a movie because, oh my God, Ryan Gosling's in it, like they do Arnold Schwarzenegger or somebody like that.
Today, I don't think anybody would go see a movie because Harrison Ford or Arnold Schwarzenegger is in their prime. Oh yeah, in their prime.
Well, that's what I meant. That's what I meant.
They were on fire. They would just touch. I don't think he's reached that level of crazy Hollywoodness, but he does have a pretty good following, and his films. Now he is the lead on this one, and from what I understand, he plays a Blade Runner, a new Blade Runner, because the film takes place 30 years after the one we saw. And it's something about him discovering something that leads to him having to track down Decker, who appears to be in hiding somewhere that, will change humankind or something. It's not very specific, but that's all they're giving us right now. Now, I know that there's a couple of other names attached that I recognize. Some of them I don't, but obviously Robin Wright, we know Robin Wright, Dave Bautista from Guardians, and Jared Leto, which I imagine if there's anybody who's going to play a replicant, it has to be Jared Leto because he's such a weird actor that he is so easily possibly going to be a sort of replicant or whatever. The trailer, again, not a trailer, a teaser, very short. You see the very San Francisco looking dirty streets and like some kind of a bus kind of driving towards you. And
Did you think
get
it was
that
San
feel.
Francisco? Did you think? I couldn't quite tell. Like a lot, it's supposed to be.
I would imagine
it's supposed to be
because
Los Angeles. In the original, it's Los Angeles.
Maybe it is. I don't know. You're right. It could be.
It was filmed, believe it or not, in I think Bulgaria. And
That's right,
so
yeah.
instead of being a Hollywood lot, they used a studio lot in Bulgaria. So obviously they can modernize it because it's 30 years. A lot could have changed. They can use the basics. They can use more CGI, whatever. But yeah, I think what you're saying with Bautista and Jared Leto, for sure, they're likely to be the replicant types or the baddies of some sort.
Yeah, Bautista feels like what was that guy, Brian?
Brian James.
Yeah, he kind of feels like that big kind of guy. And Jared Leto, to me, feels a little bit like a Rutger Hauer type.
Yep, he's got a very, like, his mind is very deviant and deeper, and he's more of a thinker, but he's also creepy in a way, so he can fit into that world.
In the trailer, we see Gosling, and he's wearing that typical Blade Runner type of trench coat. It's obviously they're trying to replicate the look and the feel. And again, the little snippets we got, to me, I love it. It's catnip for me. I love that look. You see him also walking through like very orange-looking, dusty, deserty type of environment, and approaching like a giant head.
Where everything looked wet in the other movie, this looks one part of it looks very deserty or washed out or blown away or just like sandstormy.
Yes.
It could be a city environment, but just sandstormy or something.
Yeah, but in that sandy environment that you're talking about, he walks into it looks like a city hall type of location once he's inside, and you're still dealing with very orangish colors, and inside is where he's poking around, and you see Harrison Ford come out, pointing a gun at him, and that's when they exchange a few lines.
My feeling is instead of where everything 30 years ago was very wet and dark, and it felt very cold and damp because it was supposed to be November-ish, and I feel this one 30 years they're going to give the impression that maybe everything's drier and sandstormy.
Well,
and,
in some places, because at the end shot,
because maybe the environment's been destroyed or maybe the environment's been damaged.
Right.
There's going to be
the end shot is
slushy looking.
Yeah, at the end shot, you also get him walking away from the camera in the trench coat, and you have the full rain and the full, Japanese writing and Chinese writing and all the, the typical Blade Runner looking thing. Also, in the beginning, what looked like rain, when you really look closely, it's almost like ash. It almost looks like some kind of debris that's just raining debris and not water. So it's obviously they're doing something, and that's kind of cool. And like I said, it looks to me, again, very short, but it looks to me so damn good. Harrison Ford looks like what Harrison Ford looks like now. He does not look like, obviously, 1982 Harrison Ford. So I don't know how he can kind of change it in any shape or form. In other words, is he going to be the grumpy old man that he kind of has become nowadays with most of the roles that he has, or is he going to do a little bit of something that kind of brings us back to his old character? Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm down. We've had these discussions, and people who listen to our shows would know where I fit in, and I'm down on him being the replicant because he was never a replicant when the movie came out. Harrison Ford said he didn't necessarily want him to be the replicant, I believe. Ridley Scott has bounced back and forth. I saw it in the theater the day it came out with the voiceover. There was no indication of a replicant. Now, that doesn't mean he wasn't then, but to me, the way I was brought up with, it's the same thing with the people who were brought up with the original Star Wars, without A New Hope, without Greedo shooting, without, all that extra nonsense. We have a way we believe it is, and that's how I feel about this. That's how I feel it's a sellout to make him a replicant, but I guess I have a feeling though that's the direction they're going. You know what I'm saying? Based on the line,
we'll have to wait. Yeah.
Based on the line, what he says, I used to do what you do. He goes, it's harder now, or something like that. It's a lot harder now. But that's just my take.
Now, Ryan Gosling's character, as of now, they only identify him as Officer K, the letter K. So again, maybe they are going in the other direction. Maybe he will be the replicant and not Harrison Ford. We'll see. His character...
That would be something if they went that way, that they finally brought it back full circle, that it's Harrison Ford that's the still the hero.
Right. That could be that. They could do that. Now, as to, again, it's not that I have my doubts about Harrison Ford, is that I would like to see him do something... I would like him to surprise me a little bit because, like I said, nowadays, every time I see him, he's kind of doing the same kind of character.
Well, he brought it in. He did. He's the one shining star without, bar none, I feel, in Force Awakens.
He was the big gun.
I hate it to this day. I hate it to this day that they felt they needed to kill him off just because it was the gimmick. That's just, again, my preference.
I still think it was his idea.
I think he brought it from but I think he brought it from beginning to end in terms of his performance. He didn't phone that in. He played Han Solo, and it felt like Han Solo.
Yeah, and again, that's what I'm saying. I want to see him. We only got one line out of him. You know what I mean? I want to see him in character. I want to see him how he handles this character as being older. Now with Gosling, I've seen him in other movies before, and he's another one of these actors that, he's no De Niro. He cannot play like 30 different characters. He seems to have one or two notes, and I really enjoy his kind of like psychotic type of note, that one note like from Drive type of character.
Yeah.
Very deadpan, quiet, doesn't say much. He just gives you this look, and he seems to be channeling that type of, acting style or character in the little bits that we saw in this teaser. I know you're not a big fan, right?
Most of Drive I liked, and that stoic performance that you're talking about.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and it did feel Blade Runner-esque because I think it was Los Angeles. It did just have that vibe, a couple different vibes. It had a thief vibe with James Caan and sort of Michael Mann.
He's the
feel.
man with no name. He's like
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood basically in
It
Drive.
had a couple, but some of it was just then it got into typical gimmicky. It just wasn't my cup of tea. And I feel on repeat viewings, that feeling you have would then be more caricaturish. Now, again, all this is my take. Everybody has a different feel about it, and I respect it. In this case, I do respect it. It's just not for me, and he's not been one of my favorites. I know La La Land just came out. It got attention, but nobody I talked to was going to see it because it was this great Ryan Gosling movie.
No,
they were seeing it because it had old Hollywood feel or things like that.
Right, if you're into the old
and it
Hollywood
got good-
style, yeah.
Yeah, and it got critical acclaim. But I never feel like he made his own movie with, and I followed it because Matt Smith was the star, and thank God everybody involved. I think it was Matt Smith, maybe Eva Longoria, but I could be wrong who was the female lead, and it kind of got laughed at, completely laughed at, and for most careers, it would have hung stink on everybody who was participant, but luckily everybody seemed to have gotten away with that, okay, it wasn't his best effort, and he's just not a good director. But I heard it was completely awful. I don't know if you saw it or many of our audience saw it because it didn't get really wide release. It just it came, it went, it was done. And that's the kind of thing I think of. It's like he's in between. He's talented, but he's in between.
Well, with Ridley Scott's participation here, originally I think we were thinking he was going to direct, but then he kind of passed on directing. He's still executive producer.
We have an excellent director.
Yeah, he's a pretty good.
Dennis?
It's funny. I recently just watched
Dennis Villeneuve.
Yeah, his latest film, The Arrival, I just saw that maybe about a month ago, and I really enjoyed it. And I've seen his other two films that are, his other two better-known films.
What are the other two?
His other two films, Prisoners, which was great. It's a crime drama, whodunit type of thing. And Sicario, my God, that's kind of like, if you remember Traffic,
yeah,
it's a very moody political crime, assassins type of thing. Excellent with Del Toro. Oh my God, he's so amazing in this film.
I remember when my good friend who constantly sees movies right away and usually has a pretty good take on things right away, like minutes after he got out of the theater, says, "You've got to watch this. It's that good." And he agrees that this movie's in good hands. The guy hasn't done anything.
No, he's very good. The only thing that I'm a little disappointed in, I guess it goes with the director, is the fact that they're not using Vangelis music.
Are we sure about that?
In the teaser, they used a little bit of it, but according to what I'm reading here, the composer is Johan Johansson, I think is pronounced, which is the same guy that's worked with him on this last three films. So, hey, you know what? But I have a feeling they're going to have to work it.
Yeah. Do you know the sounds? Does he mimic?
No, I've never downloaded any of his stuff.
Atmospheric. Yeah, I mean, if it's atmospheric kind of music like that with different sound and effects, then that's interesting. Because there's been other people before and since Vangelis who have that, that feel, and I would like that feel. I understand if it doesn't have that, exact
right.
Times change. We can't keep living in the past. We have to have new art and new things. But I would like that feel to be there. That's all.
Well, the fact that they're using it on the teaser, leads me to believe that even though I'm sure this guy's going to compose the entire soundtrack, I have a feeling they are going to throw a couple of Vangelis beats here or there, to kind of remind you of what world you're living in. So that wouldn't surprise me a bit. This movie's coming out in October, so we have quite an amount of time to prepare for it and to start hopefully being able to see the full-blown trailers that we'll get, sooner or later. But it was a complete surprise that they gave us at least this to start with.
I guess there's a third, when they release on iTunes and some other places, there's a third Vangelis disc with music that was either considered inspired by or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's a chance there's unused stuff that's of that era that can be implemented in addition to somebody's, or just simple styling cues. So
we can do an entire show just on
the
soundtrack of Blade Runner. The fact that it went from one to the other to the other to the other. It's amazing how the soundtrack keeps coming back. Every couple of years in different forms.
Yeah, I definitely like to do a show on that, and I'm sure people would at least check it out because they could hear things and hear the music.
Well, the second film we want to talk about is another relative, if you will, of Blade Runner in a way, not only because Ridley Scott, once again, is involved. This time he's directing. This is technically the sequel to Prometheus. This is Alien Covenant, which was originally supposed to be called Alien Paradise. Changed the title. It's a direct sequel to Prometheus. Apparently the plan is still to kind of continue to bring this story along closer and closer and closer to the Alien film, the first original film. So they're kind of linking these stories closer and closer. From what I've seen so far, the trailer, again, surprise trailer, didn't expect to get something. And it's not a teaser. It's really, I would call it trailer number one because there's quite a number of shots in it and stuff like that. Yeah. It looks very much like the last film, as opposed to how different, Alien looks from Aliens, and even any of those films look than Prometheus. Even though Prometheus is supposed to be taking place beforehand, obviously there's nothing you can do about the fact that it's technology, it's the future now. So things are going to look nicer no matter how much you want them to be. But yeah, when I looked at the shots and the way that they light, it's the same cinematographer. So obviously he wants to continue the look of it. This particular story, from what I understand, as we left off the last film, David lost his head. They're going to the planet where the engineers are coming from to kind of, she wants to find, I forget her name was, she wants to find, where they came from. Well, here we have a completely different crew, the completely different ship going out there to discover something, some uncharted planet that appears to be very habitable, blah, blah, blah. We heard that before. And the crew, part of the crew includes a David type of robot, which is just like, it's Michael Fassbender's character.
Having another bishop.
It's not, it's kind of like a bishop type of character, like was David, from Prometheus. But the kicker is that when they apparently arrive in this planet that looks very good and nice, David is there. So now we're linking to him. So meaning, is this the planet that David ended up in, once they escaped, the previous film? Now, the trailer is, first of all, it was a red band trailer that they released, so that's a little unusual because it does have a little violence and the language is a little more than what we're used to. A lot of the stars in the film are not very well known. Obviously, Michael Fassbender, we know him already from the previous film and from all the other stuff he does. But some names, when I first heard him, I'm like,
I think the main woman star is in Fantastic Beasts and
Catherine Watterson. Yeah, I think that might be.
She's like the main woman in the most recent Harry Potter spin-off. If anybody, I'm sure a lot of people saw that.
And Billy Crudup is the lead, I guess, as the captain of the Covenant.
And he's very famous. He's made
pretty
a ton
well
of movies
known
that I like.
But now that you have some other names that at first when I heard, I'm like, oh, why did they do that? It's going to ruin the movie. But maybe it won't, because seeing the trailer didn't bother me that much. Danny McBride. If you normally told me you put Danny McBride in this kind of
comedian,
I know, that's why I'm like, oh, is this going to work? Is he going to be able to not be stupid? Maybe he will, maybe he won't. From seeing the trailer, I think he's playing it straight. He's not trying to be goofball.
Yeah, well, back in the day, if you said Yaphet Kotto or Harry Dean Stanton, you might be the same type of feeling. That's like, oh, well, they're not heavy hitters, but it turned out they were the exact perfect actors for this, for that movie.
And also returning, you have Noomi Rapace, who was Dr. Elizabeth Shaw, Guy Pearce as Peter Whalen, which I have a feeling they have very small roles. They're going to be either some kind of recording, some kind of video recording, or some kind of communication, or some kind of flashback, because I don't really think they're that big in this story. I think David is the big one because he's the robot and he lives longer than everybody, obviously, because he's a robot.
Yeah.
Also, James Franco, which is another one where it's like, oh no, why James Franco?
Yeah,
I like him
because he strikes
but he's
me as
too
the
well
kind of
known,
guy. Yeah. He's not
he's
an
just
opener.
too big.
He's not. Yeah, he's known for so many other things that when you see him, you almost expect. He's done some great stuff. I think that.
But you do expect him to do some goofy things like a McBride. Again, he's more of a goofy guy. But I have a feeling, again, he has a very small role, so maybe it won't bother me as much.
Both of these, Blade Runner and this one, my initial vibe is positive.
Yeah.
But upon thinking about it, both of them give me a vibe in kind of like what became of The Force Awakens. It's new, it's exciting, it's visually pleasant, the actors are good, we like the new characters. But to me, it's basically the best of the original trilogy put into a new movie and a new presentation of this particular type of story. Well, Blade Runner doesn't tell me that, but I have a vibe based on what we're talking about, there's a new set of replicants. I don't know
Yeah,
why
yeah, yeah.
I think that, but that's what we both think, that there's a new set of replicants. There's a potential for, a mystery and whatever. Okay, so that one less likely, but this alien, it feels like a modern, what everybody thought the original concept of Prometheus was and the original plan was, but it feels like, let's get the Alien franchise back, and how do we do it? Well, we couch the old stuff into a new package, and that's what I feel I saw on that. Now, maybe I'm nuts. What do you think?
Well, I remember that when they were promoting Prometheus, Ridley Scott was very, very strongly trying to kind of give you a new view of the movie, not so much as it's just a horror movie, but he was trying to make it more of a religious thing in terms of, the creation of man and the link of always looking for God and all that stuff. So there were very heavy themes.
And your God might wind up being our most feared
Right. You might not
enemy.
like what you find out there. You might think of that this is wonderful and everything. And that's in the direction I think he seems to keep going in this with this storyline. But I think that the difference now is that because there was, I guess, some people didn't like so much of the godly type of search for life type of message, that they wanted more action. They wanted more fights and, screams and scary moments, that kind of stuff. I think that's what they're trying to do with this one. They're trying to continue the story, but they're also trying to pepper it, I think, a lot with a more horror, aliens type of feel to it by using these original characters, that have nothing to do with those other two films. And I'll tell you the truth, I don't mind. I really don't mind.
We did a lot on Prometheus, and you and I liked it, and then we started to have a little problem with it, but I think in general we liked it, but again, we acknowledged that there were, upon further review, there was issues. But I liked that idea of that whole thing. Well, let's look for God. Where did we come from? Oh my goodness, this is God. This is what God is. You know what I mean? And like, that's going to anger some people, and it's also going to scare the pants off some people. And like I said, this one, I think they realized there was some mistakes. Probably the studio said, look, this is not what we wanted. We wanted people to go crazy for it and love it, and so on and so forth. So that's why the whole thing might have been a little retooled from the original plan, but still be guiding along that David path. I don't know what's going to come of it. I'm going to be interested, but also I just hope it's not like, okay, well, you like the aliens? Well, watch this. This is we can do more now or something.
No,
so.
I'm pretty sure that they're trying to stick to the Prometheus continuation. They're not just trying to throw you in the other direction that much, even though he does hint that you are getting closer to that time frame, to that feel, I guess. Now in the trailer,
I think that's what people want. I think that's what people want, connect the dots somehow.
With the trailer, you do get that feel also. It's more of and then there were none type of scenario, which seems to happen with all these films. You start with a big group and how one by one these people get infected in some shape or form. And in the trailer, you do see somebody steps on some kind of spore, and the spore kind of goes into the guy's ear, and then some guy starts to something comes out of instead of his chest comes out of his back. People are screaming and running and this and that. You do get a shot, and I quickly looked it up just because I'm like, that looks a little interesting, of a man walking in the dark in like a field wearing a cloak, and somebody made a note that cloak looks exactly like the cloak that the engineers were wearing in the beginning of Prometheus.
Interesting.
And the theory that they're going is that David now, he's been alone for a while, I guess, and he is conducting his own kind of experiments, and he is kind of like an engineer now in this planet all by himself, and now he has visitors that he can kind of mess with, I guess, or something like that. So that's
because he was doing that with Naomi Rapace, wasn't he?
He was with her boyfriend.
Yeah.
He's the one that poisoned her boyfriend to get the experiments going, while everybody else was getting screwed at the same time.
So that's nothing new for him.
No, and in the trailer, you also get one of the ending shots. Again, it harkens back to to Alien, and that is there appears to be like a couple in a shower, kind of making love in the shower, and all of a sudden you see underneath an alien tail that seems to be wrapping itself underneath both of them, and then it impales one of them, and that's how the trailer ends. So that brings us back to Alien, if you remember the towards the end when I forget the name of the character, but Yapeth Kotto and Veronica Cartwright, I think her name was, the actress.
Yeah.
That's how she kind of gets it at the end. So I guess they're trying to harken back to those type of things. Again, I don't have a problem with this. This one is May, so I don't have to wait as long as as Blade Runner. Now, we did mention earlier, and I keep looking into this because back when, what was it? I think it was when Prometheus came out, some of the promotional material or the online material, or maybe it was a DVD re-release of Blade Runner or something. In the bonus material, they made a reference to, I believe, Tyrell Corporation through Prometheus, I think it was. So,
there was some talk. There was some people saying that it's tied in these mega corporations.
These mega corporations. So I have a feeling that sooner or later he's going to try to merge them, not in your face, but he is bringing these two universes together, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Especially with the whole robot thing.
I don't know if they're allowed to do that. I don't know how exactly they're allowed to do that because they're owned by, I guess, other companies. So I don't know if they can meld them. So it's not like Alien versus Predator.
Prometheus took place, I believe, in 2093 or something. And this Blade Runner sequel is 2049. So the whole robot thing, they're getting closer to each other year-wise. You know what I mean? The original Blade Runner, it was 2019, but what I'm saying is that these two worlds are getting closer and closer to each other, and I'm sure he didn't do it as a joke. I think he's trying to tie in maybe the Wayland or the Yutani side with the Tyrell side or something like that.
Well, I'm looking, like I said, I am looking forward to it. I hope it doesn't become another gimmick that doesn't have a payoff and it's just a creature feature, because that was the beauty of the original, like Jaws, like Alien, that it wasn't all about the alien until you saw the alien. There was a lot of thrill and emotion leading up to it.
There were some leaked photos that were brought out maybe about 2 months ago, and they show you, I guess, some of these newer aliens that look, I guess, a little more like what we're used to as opposed to what came out of Prometheus. And there were also some photos, I believe, of what looked like statues or burnt humans and creatures fighting each other on this long road.
More of that.
So kind of like a Pompeii-looking thing, people frozen in the moment type of stuff.
I remember seeing that.
So that will be interesting to see how all that works into it. And again, I mean, I know it had flaws, but I like the story and I want to get more of it. I remember we were going crazy over the deleted scenes of, well, this gives us a little more and this tells us a little more of that. Oh, why didn't they ask? So I like this stuff. It's just like more of it. I can't get enough of it.
And I know the answer. I just want to make sure for the audience who may be mixed about it. This is not the proposed Alien 5 or
no.
The alien that was supposed to potentially pick up after Aliens, after the James Cameron, right? That's not totally that hasn't existed yet,
and that hasn't been canceled as far as I know. That it's kind of in the shelf there waiting to see what happens with this stuff, because again, I don't know how many more he wants to make of these.
Maybe something like this does well, and they can have there's multiple Marvel universes happening and multiple Star Wars worlds happening. They can do that. I guess they're trying to get it. They're trying to get it on track. And
because
if it does that, then
Sigourney Weaver apparently was on board, and I think Neil Blomkamp was the director. He's kind of on board.
And I feel like that's the one I'd really like to be a part of, because I love the Cameron world of Aliens, and we have a very checkered history with Alien 3 and how at the time it was the worst thing that could ever happen. I personally have more respect for it based on the career of
Fincher.
So and I respect him a lot more, and I understand and have read what he was going through, so I don't hate it, because now I don't dislike him, so I don't hate it, but I also realize that's left a bad taste in a lot of Alien fans, and after that it's just off the rails. Some of them have been okay, and some of them have put together some, but Alien 4, what is that, Resurrection? That was not anything that's our cup of tea. And then the Aliens Predator stuff. Yeah. It's got pieces in it that we can accept, but in general, it's not our cup of tea either, if I recall.
One final thought that I want to mention here about this trailer is the music that they use when they show you David, and it's the music they use, which is, I believe it's Nature Boy. It's not by David Bowie. It's a cover, but I recognize it right away, and it's talking about... Right, and it's talking about David. Again, it's almost like a Pinocchio type of thing. He's like this young boy that is new to the world, and that's the whole thing about David. And it's like, I love it when they use the proper music. When you have a chance, and yeah, I'll include, as usual, the clips so you guys can listen to it and look them up on YouTube, because that was really cool. But again, we have 2 great selections here for you. And, unfortunately, you're going to have to wait a few months. So I think we have plenty of stuff here, right around the corner. And we are going to get more. Like I said, the Blade Runner trailers are going to start coming.
We love these movies, and these aren't even the biggest movies coming out this year. There's so much more stuff that there's trailers of and sneak previews and little tidbits of that we can just do a show every week about a new trailer that we saw.
Right.
I guess that's a good thing.
And as more stuff comes on, we'll continue hitting it for you guys and going over it and let you know what's right around the corner. So on behalf of everybody here at GeekFest Rants, I want to thank James, as usual, for joining me. Thank you, James. And you guys for spending your hard-earned time with us. And we will see you next time here at GeekFest Rants. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Please open up. I can't do this. Infection.
There was a boy, a very strange, enchanted boy. They said he wandered very far, over land and sea.
You sure about this, Captain?
How do you mean?
I really don't know what the fuck's out there.